Hi all, it's Kimberly and thank you for joining. Thanks to the new subscribers. And if you are new and not familiar with me, I'm an intuitive soul coach and advisor to twin flames and those along the ascension journey. Anyone who's looking for healing information, how do I heal and integrate waking up, how do I step onto my path, master my gifts, heal my wounds. I work very directly and progressively with all of my clients. One thing that I've heard throughout the years with my clients is I am an overthinker. I think too much. How do I stop myself from overthinking? And, we certainly see this on the twin flame journey because it shows up as obsession a lot of times, right? We're obsessing about the other person. So we're going to answer your question today. Like, how do I stop overthinking? We're going to answer that question in this video. Just a couple quick announcements, just like the housekeeping stuff is one-on-one sessions. You can book on spiritualmaterialgirl.com. See the link below. You can save $19 with code LUCKYSMG, all caps. That's only through January, so January 2019. The code is available. February 28th, we have a workshop coming up called My Path, My Purpose. Anyone who's wanting to master yourself this year, really get on your purpose, this workshop's for you, so you can read what that's all about online. And then starting in April, we've already had 2 people register for the next intensive program that I do. This one's called Master Yourself. So it's just a really amazing program in which you'll make so much progress in a month. I'm basically your personal coach for a month. So check that all out online. And if you're not familiar with the sessions, I do intuitive guidance sessions, ascension soul coaching, twin flame guidance sessions, past life and early life regression, and other things. So check it out. All right, so let's talk about how do I stop obsessing? How do I stop all that overthinking? Okay, well, overthinking is a product of fear. Go figure. Now, the one thing I have to say is we are in habits, right? So you are in habits where you have sort of like go-to behaviors, right? And so when you overthink, this is probably something that you've been doing for a long time, where you try to figure it out, where you're trying to control the situation, where you have to mull it and replay it over and over again. Maybe there's something you're replaying because of your own insecurities. Maybe there's things that you're trying to figure out or control because at the root of it, you're not trusting, right? So it all stems from fear. And it's good to be logical at times. It's great to do that when we need to plan and strategize and when we're getting ready to take inspired action. We need those skills of logic and planning and strategy. But when we're doing it, especially with like emotional relationships, twin flame connections, where we start obsessing, where we start getting into loop thinking, right? That is where it's detrimental for us. And there's definitely some key places where this stems from. So let's talk about that. So when you go into that thinking, like the loop thinking or, obsessive thinking, over-analyzing, we could say. Some of you say, oh, I'm just a really analytical person. Well, I think we all have an analytical side, but depending upon how rooted you are in your masculine, you'll be more analytical. And if you're rooted in your false masculine, you'll be more obsessive, like where you're going to be over-analyzing, spending too much time there. And because the false masculine is like the unbalanced or imbalanced, is it im or un? I don't know. Someone check that for me and tell me. Maybe you can use both. The imbalanced expression of the masculine and of your inner masculine. And everybody has inner feminine and masculine energy. And the key is that it doesn't matter how much you have of each, just as long as they're working in healthy balance, right? And that they're the truest expressions of who you are. So sure, you could be a more analytical person, but it's different when it's in a healthy expression, when it's coming from a place of trust. And for most of you, when we obsess and we get into like these loop thinking behaviors, like I said, stemming from like fear, insecurity, it's part of negative thought patterns. So when you have negative thought patterns, they are at the root of it is always some sort of a fear, some sort of an insecurity, some sort of a doubt with fear beneath it. So when we look at those types of negative thought patterns, ask yourself, like, how do I overthink? What do I do? Do I replay the tape? Do I doubt? Do I try to figure it out? Do I try to control? Am I trying to control the situation or speed up the timing, or, like I said, like figure out the answer? Am I looking too far ahead in the future? Am I looking to the past when I'm overthinking or obsessing, right? Because those are all indicators that you're in these negative thinking loops that stem from fear. So when you're past tripping or future dwelling, as I call it, you're not in the now. And in order to be in the now, you've got to be present, but you've got to be in a state of trust, right? That's what's going to put you in the now. Fear is going to pull us out of the now. So when we're, insecure, when we're feeling like we have to replay things because it's like this is where we need to go into things that divert our attention or avert our attention to things that make us feel secure. But we don't usually have the wherewithal to do that because we have this go-to place that we go to work out our fears and insecurities. And it's really not serving us. What it's doing is it's just lowering your vibration, and it's holding you apart from feeling good. It's holding you apart from finding that alignment with yourself. We have ways of dichotomous thinking, right? Making things black and white. Well, either this or that. We can think in terms of, where we assume things, or crystal ball thinking, we assume things, right? So when we are assuming things, we're trying to draw a conclusion because of our fears. But these are all places that negative thought, or products of negative thinking and fear, and they're all places that we go to because of fear. So the first thing I want you to think about doing is draw your awareness to when you do this. What type of overthinker are you? What type of analyzer are you? Most of you come to me and you say, oh gosh, I've just been, trying to figure this out, and I feel how stuck you are in your head. Often I'll get your crown chakra headaches right when I talk to my clients. I'll get their headaches because when you have that much going on up here, the things that need to be open, like your heart chakra and, this alignment with your confidence center and your solar plexus and this, open pathway. Because don't forget, when this is all blocked up with those thoughts, like your pathway is not open to source, right? Nor are you in alignment with your divine self. So you want to come into alignment, which is a state of trust. But in order to do that, you've got to raise your awareness for when you do the overthinking and what type of overthinker are you? And there isn't just, you might do all of these things at different times where you doubt, fear, insecurity, dichotomous thinking, where you're, crystal ball, assumptions, where you're, trying to control, manipulate to figure it out. And all of those things are unnecessary. They're holding you apart vibrationally from what you truly want, from the answers coming to you, from everything just working out, from everything falling into place in divine order. And with twin flames, this can be really bad, especially if you guys are in separations and you go through obsessive thought patterns. It holds the separation, it holds the no contact, it holds the other person away. And your twin will feel that, especially when they're fear cycles. And I'm sure you guys, there's a few of you who I know are watching this right now. And you're like, oh my God, you're right. It does repel my twin. Because it does. It repels your twin. When you're trying to control, when you're thinking, when you're overthinking, when you're needing the answer, when you're trying to extract the answer. And you have to ask yourself, why? Why am I doing that? It's because you're afraid. You're afraid. I'm afraid if I let go, I'm afraid if I just take my hands off the wheel, I will be left. I'll never hear from the person again, right? So there's your abandonment wound at the root of that, right? Because I'm afraid if I don't do that, then I won't ever hear from him or her again, right? So there's the abandonment wound is primarily at the root of that for most twin flames. So it's important for you to go to that route and do more work around it, right? And I have tools for you on my site, VibeUp, vibup.com. You can join, take all the online courses. I have all this information on there, and they're interactive courses, which you have worksheets, videos, meditation, stuff like that. You'll love it. Very progressive, and you can do this all on a self-study basis. Or come to coaching, right? Because I can help you work through these things. But make sure you heal that stuff. And there's always, you can say, oh, well, I did that already. I'm already aware of it. It's like, so am I. But guess what? Something just came up this past week about, an unhealed memory with my father. There's always another layer with your healing and another perspective and another. But once you get to the real root of it, then when those other layers come up, you have the tools in your toolbox to know how to heal and work through those things when they come up, okay? So that's different. But make sure you have those tools in your toolbox, okay? So because it's the awareness that creates the behavior change in which you can start to repattern and shift and not have to go to these default settings, these deeply ingrained habits that you have, right? And so I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that. One is understanding the underlying issue. What is the core belief that is holding you in this fear state? Like for many of you, it could be like, I'm not good enough. That's where the insecurities come from. That's maybe why you have to analyze it, or maybe why you have to, control things. When you're trying to, extract something from your partner, you need an answer, you need it on your timeline, right? That could be just because you're afraid. If I let go or I take my hands off the wheel, if I just allow the universe to rise up and meet my own desires and let things fall into place, that I will be left or I will be abandoned. And that goes back to I am not lovable, right? And those types of core wounds. So with that said, understanding that is huge, because you need to bring that awareness forth so that when the next time you are in that default setting, going there to overthink, analyze, control, manipulate, doubt, fear, blah, 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 you will, a little bell will ding, a little light will go on, and it'll go, alert, alert, you're doing it. And once that happens, then you have some wherewithal to start to repattern. So start to zoom out from yourself and say, I'm noticing, this is a diffusion exercise. So I'm noticing that I'm having these thoughts. I'm noticing that I'm having these obsessive thoughts, or that I'm obsessing. I'm noticing I'm spiraling into these negative thought patterns. Just in that, and like just kind of zooming outside of yourself, kind of lifting above it and seeing and observing yourself, I'm noticing that I'm doing this. I'm noticing that. That's where you can begin to redirect yourself. And that's how you begin to practice alignment. Okay? It's going to take some work underneath though, right? To understand where your fears and stuff stem from. But when you go to practice alignment can be really fun, right? Because then we get to find new things to go to, new go-to places in our minds, in our hearts, in our activities, everything that we're doing. And so what I'd highly recommend is when you have that wherewithal, I notice that I'm going into these negative thought patterns, or I notice that I'm having the thought that XYZ. When you have that awareness come in, that bell's dinging, the light bulbs lighting up, then you can say, okay, I get to choose. I get to choose. I'm going to choose not to go there. I'm going to go over here instead. And over here instead is important, okay? Because over here instead is going to be something, goosebumps, that feels better to you. That just is not going to be so hard. That is maybe a pleasant distraction. Maybe it could be some sort of an affirmation or or something that like calms or soothes you. But watch out for the affirmation band-aids, because underneath those affirmation band-aids, there's usually a root issue that needs to be healed, and those band-aids will peel off if we don't heal that at the root. So it might be an affirmation or something that you read or you go to help calm you, to get you out of that cycle. Going into anything creative, meditative, spiritual, like anything that interests you spiritually, nature, that stuff puts you in alignment, okay? So if you have like an idea brewing, or you have like a journal, or you like to watch these videos to gain knowledge, not to look at them for outcome, but to gain knowledge, then immerse yourself in that stuff. Write out your ideas, sketch out things. Go cook or decorate or do something creative. Go make something with your hands. Go do a piece of art or paint something. Go take a walk in nature. Go listen to high vibrational music. Like, these are the things that we need to start going to when we feel ourselves going into those patterns, because those things are creative. They're going to put us in an inspired place. And if you can't make that switch to get inspired, just do something that feels good to you. That's going to take your mind off of that thing that you want to dwell on. Okay? Because each thing you do will get you a step closer to alignment. So let's just say, okay, I'm feeling pretty shitty. I'm dwelling on something. I'm having these repetitive thoughts. All right, Kimberly told me this light bulb's going to go off. Boom, the light bulb goes off. And I'm like, okay, shit, but I don't feel so yucky right now. I don't feel like doing anything. What am I going to do? I'm not inspired. Okay, well, this is where you go, all right, she said music. Okay, so I'm going to put in a song that I like. Oh, yeah, okay, this song is actually making me feel better. Now I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to take a walk. There's a lot of music I want to listen to on my walk, right? Or I would just want to listen to nature, Or maybe it's just like, you know what? I have this thing that I've been working on, this creative thing. I'm just going to go over here and do that, work on that right now. It's about moving up the vibrational ladder, right? So you want to make sure that you're able to make that segue through awareness, and that maybe you just start with small things like a song or music that uplifts you, and then you work up, like taking a walk, things like that, and then you move up into doing the creative things and so on and so forth. Because I guarantee you, when you come back from your walk, when you come out of your, cooking your recipe, or, painting your painting, or working on that idea that you've been wanting to work on, I swear you will feel 100% better. You'll have let all the thoughts go. You'll have found alignment, and you'll have a much clearer head. Ever have the awareness of what is sort of there when you just wake up, like the first thoughts in the morning? You know how that feels so pure and so clear? Like whatever it is that you think when you first roll out of bed, it's almost like your purest thoughts of the day. It's the same thing because you've just reset your whole system. Your mind has been at rest. So when you wake up, any voices you hear, anything, any clarity that's coming in is like it's divine. So when you come out of these creative endeavors, these spiritual things, meditative practices, anything that puts you into a feel-good, inspired mode, those things put you into alignment the same way. It's the same type of reset. Even if you only do it for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, you're going to get the same type of reset effect. So you want to make sure that you keep redirecting yourself to those things, and that you have some go-to things. So once you start playing this little game of redirecting yourself, write down a list of things that you can do when you feel kind of yucky or when you start obsessing, and go to those things. Small, big, indoors, outdoors, activities, songs, like whatever it is. And that's going to help you a lot. You can also write, right? So you can also do some writing. So I always recommend write about the state you're in and then read it back to yourself. So we don't want you to go from a place where you're obsessing to, like I said, throwing affirmation band-aids over that, especially in writing, because the truth of the matter is that that's going to peel off, and it's kind of like you're trying to convince yourself to get to a place that's not really there under the surface. And you can trick yourself into alignment. Absolutely you can. And but I think what's more important in the broader scheme of things, in terms of like repatterning for good, is to get in touch with the emotions. Get in touch with these thoughts. See on paper, maybe even how you obsess. be there for yourself, comfort yourself when you read it back to yourself, right? Validate your feelings. And then you can maybe choose a better feeling story to write. Then you can go over and write some affirmations. Then you can go give yourself some love. Then you can go, but sometimes you might need to just get it all out, flush it out, right? So I'm not talking about denying your feelings, okay? We're talking about when you get good at acknowledging your feelings and just realizing that some of this is just patterns, default settings, you'll be able to have the wherewithal and the awareness to reroute yourself, right, into things that put you into alignment from a state of love and trust, or that puts you into a state of love and trust. So there you have how you've just transitioned out of fear and into love and trust, how you've just transitioned out of obsessive, over analytical thinking into alignment. Okay, so I hope that's helpful for you. I'm sure that was like a really quick lesson, and there's so much more to say about it. But if you do want to work with me in private session, you can reach out. Intensive program, you learn this stuff all the way. Vibeup.com, and what else? Yeah, so that's it. Tons of tools for you. And I love you guys. I hope that's helpful for you. I'll talk to you soon. Be well. Okay, bye.